In today's session of Divorce Court, Pascha Brody says her marriage to Kenneth was based on a mutual feeling.
We basically came together, I think, for a need.
I told her from the start of the relationship, we have to do this together as a team. This is the 90s.
But when she got a feeling for another man, he says she took off with his money.
She used that money to move to Dallas with someone she met over the internet. Now, she met this.
She didn't. Really, it's just like meeting anybody on the street. Do you ever really know somebody?
What?
Today, it's the case of Pascha Brody versus Kenneth McCreary in Divorce Court.
All rise. Court is now in session. Maybelline Ephraim presiding. You may be seated.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is a matter of Kenneth McCreary versus Pascha Brody. I'm advised that after 5.5 years of marriage, Mrs. Brody, you want to end it. What's that all about?
Basically, for the first 3 years of marriage, my mother took care of us financially. My husband was lazy, basically.
Your mother took care of you after you married? I thought that was what she was supposed to do before you married.
Well, my mother took care of us to help me. She also helped him.
That's not
anything
true,
as far as anything that was concerned with us, she helped me, and by helping me, she also
helped him. So why you want to get a divorce? Because your mother took care of it? Seemed like your mother would want to get the divorce.
No, it's not that. It's basically because he was lazy.
What's your take on that, Mr. McCreary? She's saying that her mother took care of both of you, which says to me that neither one of you was doing much.
That's not true, ma'am. When it all started, I met Pascha when I was 18 years old. And I was living in my own place with my roommate. And,
no, he was not. He was living with his mother.
Okay, back to you, Mrs. Hold on.
She was having problems with her mother and her father, and she really had no place to stay. So she moved in with me and my roommate. And I told her from the start of the relationship that I am only 18, going on 19 years old, and I can take care of myself. But going to school and work, and I cannot take care of you.
So you told her from the beginning you were not going to support her?
I said, I cannot support you. You have to work and pull your weight. We have to do this together as a team. It's the 90s. I don't know anybody 19 years old that can take care of a whole family. There's not many people out there that can do that.
What was the whole family? It was just the two of you.
Exactly, but the two of us, she needs to work. Basically, bottom line,
she needs to work. From the jump street, you got to go get a job.
You got to make your money.
He wasn't working.
How many hours were you working when you moved in?
Yeah, where did you work at?
I was not working.
Yes, ma'am.
I was pregnant at the time.
You weren't pregnant when I was 19.
Yes, I was.
Got pregnant.
I was pregnant.
You were 1 month pregnant when we got married.
What?
She was 1 month pregnant when we got married.
Yes,
so how was you going to be pregnant?
Wait a minute.
How was you going to be pregnant?
With whose child?
With my child, ma'am. She was 1 month pregnant the day we got married.
And you got married because of the baby?
Well, we were going to get married. We rushed it because he was at the time trying to go into the Navy, and that didn't pan out. And the recruiter told him that we should go on and get married because we could.
For him to go into the Navy?
Yeah, so he would get the benefits, right?
So he could get the
money. Exactly.
So you got married for the Navy's money as opposed to love of each other.
He didn't even go to the Navy. The commander, from what he told me, turned him down. So the Navy didn't pan out.
So it started out all for the wrong reasons.
No,
wait a minute. You're living together. You're not working, so he said. Then you get pregnant. Then you get married. And it just went downhill from there. It was already going downhill.
It was actually before the marriage. We basically came together, I think, for a need. At the time, we were too young to see that. Basically.
So okay, I understand. He says your need was to get away from your mother and father.
His need was the same.
My need for her, we were together, and that was my girlfriend, and I from being my girlfriend, I grew to love her, and I seen her going through problems. And my roommate told me he did not want her to be there.
I know, but what was your need for her? She said you got together out of need.
I didn't need her. I wanted
you didn't need her at all?
I just wanted her. I didn't need her.
He was living.
You were just being a good Samaritan and helping her out?
Ma'am, I ain't need her for nothing. I just wanted her as my woman. I don't need her to provide or do anything. I just need her to take care of herself. And that's what everybody should want to do, is take care of themselves.
And she never started working?
And she never took care of herself. That's where her mother kept having to intervene with her money. I didn't want her money.
My mother took care of both of us.
What do you mean by that?
She also helped him.
Did she pay the rent?
Yes, if not half of the rent, all of the rent.
Because all my money went on food.
You didn't have no money. We went to my
gas,
mother's house.
insurance.
All right, both of you.
Her hair getting done.
Wait a minute.
I mean, and get food from her.
Both of you are talking at once. I'm not hearing you. You're losing me. You want me to understand exactly what you're saying, so make sure I only have one person talking at a time.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you were saying your mother paid the rent and did everything else?
Yes.
Well, if you married a man at 18 years old.
Yes, I was 19.
And he was in school, and he was only working part-time.
Two part-time jobs.
Hold on a second. What did you expect? What did you expect from him?
Just like any other couple, that we would grow.
And how long did you think it would take to grow?
I mean, well, after 5 years, you look back on the marriage and you see you're still in the same position. He goes into the military and gets out to have nothing.
So how long into the marriage did you go in? How many years had you been married before you went to the Army?
2 years. Okay, I got orders to go to Korea, and by this time, the marriage was pretty much over. I went to Korea, right? Now, while I'm in Korea, we're trying to work this out. So we decided when I get out the Army, we're going to move to Louisiana. Now, I have a cousin in Louisiana who set me up in school and set an apartment up for us. I sent her the money for the first and last month rent, and money to move all the furniture, and money to move her and my daughter out there. In turn, she
My daughter or your daughter?
Our daughter.
Thank you very much.
So she, in turn, used that money to move to Dallas, Texas.
Instead of Louisiana?
With someone she met over the internet.
Oh.
Now, she met this.
No, she didn't.
And when I called her the night before she was supposed to leave to make sure everything was in line. She told me, I'm on a payphone in Korea. She told me she cannot talk. Hangs up in my face. I called her back. She told me she couldn't talk because she's not moving to Louisiana. She said she had a cousin in Dallas, and she's moving my daughter to Dallas and didn't give me an address nor a phone number.
So how did you come about with this man on the internet? Tell me how you got to that?
Just talking on the internet, and this particular
Well, there's
guy
a lot of things to talk about on the internet. How'd you get into another man?
Well, I would search for jobs in different places, and people would say, well, you know, Dallas is a good place to go. There are a lot of opportunities there, and I was looking for a change anyway. I just wanted out. I felt trapped in this marriage.
Well, when did you meet Mr. Man?
Where did I meet him?
When did you meet him?
She moved with him.
When I first got there, the initial plan was to move with the young lady.
Oh, so you met a woman on the internet as well?
But lived with the man.
And she needed a roommate. And that was.
But she lived with the man.
Be quiet.
Okay.
I mean, really, it's just like meeting anybody on the street. Do you ever really know somebody? Do I ever really know him?
To me, it's not like meeting somebody on the street. You had a child, right?
Yes.
That's not a good idea, Mrs. Brody. And I don't know where you are now and what you want to do with your life. You help yourself. That's your business. But you have a child.
And my daughter, my child lives with me, ma'am. She lives with me, ma'am.
But no, you were not acting in your daughter's best interest when you made a move from one state to another with persons you had met over the internet and went to live with those persons. That was not acting in your child's best interest. Not at all. Now, you may, because of your age, think that was, but it wasn't. If you wanted to move to another state for a better job, for better security, for a better life for your child, fine. You do so when you have the place to move on your own. It's bad enough when you're on your own. Or you go live with family, or you go live with close friends, not strangers.
When divorce court returns, Pascha's testimony reveals what's really bothering her.
He lives with this woman, and I have a problem with the fact that he just up and moved with this lady. We're still legally married, and he's living with this. No.
Are you involved in a dispute with a neighbor, friend, relative, or business person? Take your case to a new court show and be represented by a prominent attorney. Call 877-777-0099. Divorce court is back in the case of Kenneth McCreary, who says Pascha left him for a man she met over the internet because she thought he'd be a better provider.
It is never in the best interest of your child, in my opinion, for a 4-year-old girl or boy, for that matter, to move in with a stranger that you have met over the internet and you don't know much about it. It's bad enough when you know him for 4 years and 5 years. There's too many instances of strangers molesting little girls when mothers move in with them. So that wasn't in her best interest. That was for you. You wanted somebody because you were tired of him. And this man sounded more interesting.
That wasn't
okay. How did you find out where she was and who she was living with?
I called her mother and tried to get information, and I threatened her mom by saying, if you don't tell me where my daughter is, I will cut your daughter off from access to money. And when I told her
mother
that,
didn't want to get up off any more money, right?
And so when I told her that, she in turn called me back within 2 or 3 minutes. And then I asked her for the phone number to where my daughter is. And she said, well, she's with me right here.
So who has the child now?
My daughter lives with me now. But I want my daughter to stay with me at all times, and she doesn't want that.
Now you want her to pay for school.
In turn, if I pay for school when she had her,
and
she needs to pay for school.
And
so now you don't want to pay for school when he has.
No, that's not the thing. He wasn't consistent. I think my daughter needs to live with me. A little girl should live with her mother.
You're not stable.
Take care.
You are not stable, Pascha.
Hold on, Mr. McCrary.
Well, that's the reason why she's with him now. But when I get back on my feet, which I will.
When you get back on your feet,
yes, then I'll be in the position to take care of her.
Is the child in child care?
No, she's with my grandmother during the day.
Okay.
He lives with this woman, and I have a problem with the fact that he just up and moved with this lady. We're still legally married, and he's living
But she have to
with
move to
this.
Dallas, man.
No, you're not hearing me. The point is, I have a problem that he's over there paying bills when he's not paying the damn bills that he's supposed to be paying for his own child. How you gonna be a daddy to somebody else's kids when you can't even be a daddy to your own?
So
that's not about being jealous.
Mr. McCrary.
It's about being a father.
Yes,
be a father. Don't say you can say it all day long, but to be it is something totally different.
So you're saying that he's over there playing house with her,
exactly,
and taking care of her kids, but over here with you,
while
he's
my
not
child
taking
is
care
going
of your
through
child.
Emotional problems because she's not adjusting with all this.
But it's okay
hard
for you to go back and forth, and you say that the child needs to be with him.
It's not back and forth right now because I just lost my job. I cannot provide for her when
Mrs.
I
Brody,
get back
do you
on
hear
my
what you're
situation.
saying? You're inconsistent. You're
That's
saying that, yes, you are. You said I sent her to her father because that's in the best interest of the child.
At this present time.
So best interest means that he's taking care of the child. Does that not?
Exactly.
Yes.
That?
Yes, right now. But that's
But that's
only
what we're
been
talking
a few
about
weeks.
right now. We're not yesterday and we're not tomorrow. We're talking about right now. So right now, why should he pay child care to you if you sent it
when I want her to come and live with me.
Oh, so now you want to change the custody again?
Yes.
But it's when you get
that's always
yourself
been the thing. That's always been
that's when you get yourself together, right?
Yes, I'm trying to give myself a chance to get myself together financially. I can't take care of it if I don't have no money coming in.
That's right. So right now she's with her father.
Yeah, and from what I understood, he lost his job.
No,
he just
I'm working
told me
full-time.
that is the reason why he stopped payment on a check for some money that he owes me.
I'm working full-time consistently, man.
You just told me last week. He just told me.
Hold on, just let me get this straight.
I can't keep up with him.
You have the child.
Yes.
Mrs. Brody consented to the child living with the father because it was in the best interest of the child.
And actually, that's not even the way it went down.
It came out of your mouth.
No, what I'm saying, when he first took her, when I went to go pick her up, he left me a message stating, well, no, it's not going to be that easy. She's going to stay with me right now.
Right.
And you left it like that.
Right.
Well, what am I supposed to do?
Go to court and get an order if you thought it wasn't in the child's best interest. You just told me that it was in the child's best interest because right now you don't have a job.
But I'm saying that's what he told me initially. I couldn't get her anyway.
What happened, ma'am?
No.
What happened was...
If you have the child and the child's not in school at this particular time.
Right.
But your grandmother's providing for her when you're at work.
Right. So
it's good child care.
Right.
From what I know about grandmothers.
Exactly. It's
looking
perfect.
at me, for instance.
It's perfect.
That's pretty good. So the child is in adequate care during the day. What's the difference whether she's with grandmother or whether she's at a child care center with a bunch of strangers?
Because she's not learning with grandmother.
She is learning with grandmother.
But isn't this almost time for kindergarten?
Kindergarten starts this fall,
and
man.
she's not where she should be for her age.
But she's been with you all that time. So what are you trying to say?
Exactly.
And she was in school. And she was in school.
And the school is not doing. That's why I'm moving up.
But she was with you
for the time. I mean, when he paid.
She was with you and in school for all of those years, and you say she's not where she should be. So what is that saying about you, Ms. Brody?
It don't say nothing about me.
So what is that saying about the decision for the school you made for her to be in?
Well, it was a mutual decision.
The point is, you had the child most of the time, Mrs. Brody. You made the decisions. You used what you believed was your best judgment.
But it was not permanently. This is a temporary situation.
All right, well, I'm getting ready to make something a little bit more than temporary.
Situation.
I'm getting ready to make it a little bit more than temporary. Because we're talking about a child that's been bounced back and forth. And it's time for the bouncing to stop. She's not a ball.
She hasn't been bounced back.
Well, that's the way you perceive it. Now, you told it to me, and I view it differently. And there's a saying in the law that two people hearing and seeing the same thing often hear and see it differently.
When divorce court returns, the judge renders her verdict.
All of you think differently. All of you handle life differently. All of you are going to teach her different things. She won't know what to do and how to do. She'll be so confused.
And an update on the case of Erica Durgan versus Jeffrey Durgan.
My husband informed me that God did not design him to work.
Oh.
Did not design him to hold a job.
Wait. God did not design me to work. Wow.
Divorce court will be back in session in a moment. Divorce court is back in the case of Pascha Brody, who says she left Kenneth because he was lazy and couldn't provide for her and their child.
Raising a child alone is difficult. It is time-consuming. It is hard, and it does bear on you emotionally. I understand you very well. When you're doing it all, you do get overwhelmed. When you feel that I'm the only one there doing for her all the time. Because raising a child, you need some time to yourself. You need some help from the father. You need some help from others. It takes a village to raise a child. I agree with you. But because of that, you decided that the child should go to her father. So now she's moved again, back to daddy, who's been gone for several years because he was in the military, whom she really doesn't know as well because he was in the military. But now she's there with another woman, with 3 other kids. All of that dynamic's going on with this child. She doesn't need to be moved again. If you believed it was in her best interest then, it's still in her best interest. As long as he's providing for her, it's his turn to make the decision where she goes to school, where she goes to child care, and who takes care of her. Because the years that you had her, you made that decision. It's now his turn to make that decision. Hopefully, his judgment will be a little better than what yours has been. Hopefully, you won't start the situation of moving and woman 1, woman 2, and woman 3.
Yes, ma'am.
You understand?
I understand you, ma'am.
That child does not need all of those different people in her life.
I agree with you with that, ma'am.
All of you think differently. All of you handle life differently. All of you are going to teach her different things. She won't know what to do and how to do. She'll be so confused before she turns 5. So it's time to give her some stability. So if whomever you're with, if it's not a permanent thing, if it's not good, if there's conflict going on the way it was with you and the mother, you need to get out of it now. You be the father, accept the responsibility, take care of your child, allow Mrs. Brody to be involved in her life, use the best child care you can use, a stable person like grandmother who's not going to change and go places.
Yes, ma'am.
Instead of all these different relationships, that's what you need to do.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what that child needs. But in terms of the child care, I'm not going to order him to pay you child care for the child, nor am I going to order him to put her in a child care school. Why? You said that she's not where she should be, and she was in child care.
Okay, Your Honor.
She's getting the love of a grandmother during the day. You supplement it when you have her. You teach her. You supplement it when you have her. You teach her. Bring her up to where she should be. Get her ready for kindergarten. What she needs now is more emotional stability than school and education. That's what that child needs right now. So it's better for her to be there with grandmother right now, in my opinion. And since you left it up to me to call it, I'm calling it. That's the court's order.
All rise.
When divorce court returns, an update on the case of Erica Durgan versus Jeffrey Durgan.
Your husband was entertaining other women in your home?
There was a girl across the street, very promiscuous. This is a girl who has tattoos above her genitals.
Closed captioning for divorce court provided by. Are you involved in a dispute with a neighbor, friend, relative, or business person? To appear before a real judge on a new court show, call 877-777-0099. And now for an update on a previous case in divorce court. Erica Durgan said her marriage to Jeffrey began to fall apart when he refused to get a job.
My husband informed me that God did not design him to work.
Oh.
Did not design him to hold a job.
Wait. God did not design me to work. Wow.
And when Jeffrey had an affair, Erica called it quits.
Your husband was entertaining other women in your home?
There was a girl across the street, very promiscuous girl, wore skirts up to here, shirts up to there. This is a girl who has tattoos above her genitals.
Erica wanted Jeffrey to pay over $1,600 for a phone bill and back rent on their apartment, but the judge decided they were both responsible for the bills and ordered each to pay half. Erica says her marriage to Jeffrey was a costly mistake, and she is now waiting tables to pay off her debts. She's also going to school for accounting, so she can learn how to manage her own money. Jeffrey still believes that God doesn't want him to work, but he's taken a job as a bartender. However, he says the best part about the job is that he works at night, so he can go to the beach all day.
I don't agree with the verdict at all.
I would probably put my child in daycare later on, but I'm going to take the judge's advice and get her some emotional stability first.
I just basically lost total custody of her. More or less, that's the way I look at it.
Well, I feel that the judge's decision was a pretty good one that I was actually looking for.
Basically, that my daughter should be with me. She should be with her mother.
I'm going to continue to fight for custody for my daughter. She belongs with me, and I think it's more stable with me.